Welcome to the Mojo Mundi podcast, where it's all about magic, manifesting, and movement. I'm Ginny Watts, the Dancing Witch, and today we're discovering what happens when possibility meets perception in My Glass is Half Ether. I invite you to get a clear glass and fill it halfway with water. I'll wait here. Got your glass with water in it? Okay. Take a few moments to look at the glass and the water. Now, I invite you to close your eyes and picture that glass of water. How difficult is it to picture the glass and the water it's holding? We've all heard and used some form of the maxim about the glass half full versus the glass half empty. This well-worn metaphor helps us examine the relativity of reality as well as the power of perspective. It is simple and evocative. Every child can picture just what a glass half full looks like, as well as a glass half empty, and they can also call up the feeling of the half full versus half empty description. It is exactly that accessibility that keeps the metaphor from becoming a platitude or cliché. Not only does this adage continue to invite us into an awareness of the effects of our words and thoughts, it has called a diverse group of coaches, inspirational speakers, musicians, screenwriters, authors, and even comedians to plumb its depths. And that is what we are about to do. I invite you now to gently tip the glass and watch the surface of the water. Jiggle the glass as you continue to observe the water's surface. Lean over the top of the glass and blow on the surface of the water. Where is the halfway point now? It's still there, and it also shifts. And if the visible surface of the water shifts, then so must the air that we call the empty space. If we think in dichotomous terms, full, empty, optimist, pessimist, end, beginning, the halfway point becomes a line in the sand or perhaps a dividing wall. There is either a half full glass or a half empty glass. There are no other choices. Physics, however, tells us that the hard line both exists and does not exist. It's not about either or, but rather about both and. It is in this both and that our experiential metaphor takes us deeper. Water forms the portion of our glass that is full. Air, or what scientists might describe more precisely as atmosphere, forms the portion we refer to metaphorically as empty. What we now acknowledge is that maybe instead of a boundary between air and water, between full and empty, that is impermeable separateness, maybe we are looking at a complex blending of manifested and unmanifested energy that is both two separate experiences and an intricate weaving of different forms of the same experience. Science would agree with the both and. According to the Center for Air-Sea Interaction and Marine Atmospheric Sciences at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, air-sea interaction describes the dynamic, thermodynamic, and biogeochemical processes that link the atmosphere and oceans. These same processes occur in all bodies of water that are in conjunction with air or atmosphere, though the smaller the body of water, the more difficult it is to measure the interactions. Yet we can see some products of these interactions when we tip the glass, slosh the water, or blow on its surface. Our next step is to explore the water and the air in our glass with all our senses. For now, please take just a small sip of your water so that the water level stays pretty close to the halfway mark. Use as many of your senses as possible to experience the water in your glass. Now, experiment with sensing the air in your glass using smell, touch, taste, hearing, and seeing. It is difficult to perceive air that is stationary. It appears to our senses as non-existent, yet our brains know it is there. While air can often be imperceptible, water is much more perceivable. We can usually see it one way or another. We can also feel it, taste it, and often smell it. To our senses, water and air seem to have more differences than similarities, and they are clearly different manifested forms. On the other hand, water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen molecules. Oxygen makes up close to 89% of a water molecule's mass. The mixture of gases that form what we call air is about 21% oxygen, usually in the form of O2 or dioxygen. That means water and air share a fundamental element, and when water or air is moving, we are able to hear both. Furthermore, air and water molecules are both surrounded by and filled with space, that is, places of no matter, what I call ether. So not only are air and water interacting in our glass, demonstrating that they are not operating in an either-or existence, but they are also not discrete or singular forms. They have a good deal in common at the molecular level. What does this all have to do with manifesting? Let's think of the water as manifested matter. This helps us remember that what we picture as rigid and solid is actually much more malleable. We can experience water with all our senses, yet we cannot grasp it in our hands. It reminds us that the physical world is energy in physical form, and that means there is a flow to the physical world. That flow can be difficult to recognize sometimes, just like clear water may be difficult to see. When we are in manifested form, we are immersed in a world that is both solid and fluid, both and. When energy comes into material form, it appears to be discrete and rigid. In truth, however, the physical world is more flow than fixed. It is energy that has taken a specific, though impermanent, form. We tend to fixate on the manifested world, that which is currently energy in a specific form, but that is only part of the picture. The air in our glass represents the ether, potential. Just as it is impossible to grasp the air in the glass with our hands, it is impossible to truly grasp ether with our thoughts or words. We observed that the dividing line between water and air is much less divisive than we might think. Air and water mingle, interact, and share important constituents and qualities. In our glass, water and air are performing an ongoing complicated weave of existence and co-manifestation. The complex relationship between water and air in our glass symbolizes the complex relationship of the physical and the unformed, between manifested and potential. Science encourages us to go beyond the dichotomies and polarities, to recognize that interwoven into the entirety of physical existence is what scientists call space, which is not the same as emptiness. Because space is a misleading word, implying the absence of something, I prefer to use the word ether. Now, when we look at our glass, we can begin to recognize a very helpful analogy. The water and air are like existence, which is both physical and energetic, both formed and waiting to form. Let's explore a bit more. Please fill your glass the rest of the way with more water. With your glass now full of water, take a moment to look once again at the glass. Do you notice any thoughts or feelings that are different from when the water rested at the halfway point? We now have a metaphor for being immersed in the physical world. When we are thirsty for water, that full glass is wonderful. We feel a sense of abundance and an eagerness to drink up. But what if we aren't really big water drinkers? What if our mouth was set for a milkshake or our favorite wine or espresso? What if we can't take one more sip of water? It can be difficult to be immersed in contrast. The analogy here is about allowing, accepting the reality of what we have, of what we may have co-created unintentionally or unwittingly. One way to spin it is that we may have to drink water for a while until the water is gone, leaving room for something new. However we spin the analogy, we have to empty the glass in order to fill it up with something we genuinely desire. And that takes time. It is easy to think the glass will only ever hold water, but there is nothing other than our choices that will dictate that particular outcome. Now, let's pour out most, but not all of the water in the glass, by drinking it or watering plants with it or rinsing a dish, some action that honors its sacred nature. Okay, take a look at the glass now. It looks almost empty, doesn't it? Any change in feelings, sensations, or thoughts now? While it looks empty, we know the glass now holds more of that invisible, imperceptible air, representing potential, symbolizing ether. Just as it can be challenging to allow our glass to be filled with water when we aren't thirsty for water, it can also be difficult when we feel parched and our glass appears mostly empty. Our glass now represents the time of not knowing, the lag between setting our intention and actually manifesting it. If we put all our attention on the absence of water, it is easy to see how we would become discouraged. Becoming transfixed on what appears to be emptiness feeds discouragement, which interferes with intuition and action, and we become focused on lack instead of what we have. What do we have, you might ask? We have some water. More importantly, we have a glass, almost empty, ready to be filled with what we are seeking. One of the greatest challenges of manifesting is finding ways to embody, that is, feel and sense, processes and experiences that are not concrete. We need ways to get the sensations, the emotions that create the most powerful vibrations for manifesting what we want. Sensing or feeling potential is by definition not possible. We can't even really think potential. We can think about it, but potential is outside of physical experience, which means it is beyond sensing or feeling. What we can do is find metaphors that create a harmonious vibration with what we wish to call out of potential and into reality. The glass of water metaphor is simple, concrete, and flexible. As we practice with this metaphor, expanding beyond the teachings we explored today, it becomes a powerful focal point to help us shift vibration and move us through points where we get stuck in co-creating. Throughout each day, when you see a glass of water, allow yourself to slow down and take in the reminder, the message it symbolizes. We no longer have to consider the question, am I a glass half full or a glass half empty kind of person? Instead, we can recognize that the glass is just the present moment, filled with information and invitation and always changing. All we have to do is dive in and explore. What's in your glass at this moment? If you would like to explore more ways to shift your perspective and your vibration, I am holding a dedicated space just for you to find the answers you hold within you. Connect with me to ignite your inner wisdom and light the way forward on your living path. You can reach me via my website or email, or on Facebook or Instagram at Caravan of Dreams MT. Our music is used by permission of the artist, Sean Phoenix. Thank you, Sean. And thank you to Bozeman Public Library for the Workbench Sound Studio located in beautiful downtown Bozeman, Montana. If you would like to learn more about allowing and how to find your unique style of manifesting, please visit my website, caravanofdreamsmt.com, or email me at dancingwitchmt@gmail.com. This is Ginny Watts, the Dancing Witch. Till next time, blessed be.